Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to jump straight in today with a story that I'm willing to bet is going to feel incredibly relatable to a lot of us. It's about a hardworking 12-hour-a-day professional who, despite all of his frantic, nonstop effort, achieved absolutely nothing over 5 solid years. Now, this was a really smart, dedicated guy. He was always doing something, always typing away furiously on his laptop, taking calls, rushing from one meeting to the next. But after 5 years of this relentless grind, he had zero progress. No growth, no real results, literally nothing to show for it. And this brilliantly illustrates a really fascinating paradox. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, actually told this story, and he described this man as the busiest failing person he had ever met. Think about that for a second. How can someone be so exhausted, so constantly in motion, and yet completely stagnant? When Jack asked him what the problem was, the man honestly didn't know. He just said, "I work so hard, I do everything, I try so hard, I just don't understand why nothing is moving." So that brings us to the absolutely crucial question. Why does doing everything lead to nothing? It feels completely backward, right? Well, Jack Ma gave him a remarkably blunt diagnosis. He looked right at him and said, "That is exactly the problem. You do everything. You do not do one thing." The core issue wasn't a lack of effort. It was a complete lack of singular commitment. Trying to do absolutely everything was the exact reason he was accomplishing nothing at all. Section 1. The 23-minute brain tax. Let's look at the cost of distraction. Let's dive into the hard science of distraction here, specifically looking at some fascinating research out of Stanford University. Here is the cold, hard scientific fact staring right back at us. 23 minutes. Every single time you switch tasks, even if it's just a tiny glance at a WhatsApp notification or a quick peek at an incoming email, it takes your brain exactly 23 minutes to fully refocus on whatever you were originally doing. Just think about that. You're writing an important document, a message pops up, you check it, and boom, minus 23 minutes of your brain's absolute best focus. When you actually sit down and do the math on this, it is genuinely terrifying. If you switch tasks just 10 times in a day, you have lost nearly 4 hours of deep, focused brain power. If you're switching 20 or 30 times a day, which, let's be honest, is incredibly common for most of us, you are entirely bankrupting your attention span. Breaking your focus for a 40-second cat meme is a terrible, terrible investment. You are paying 23 minutes of your absolute best mental energy for a picture of a cat making a funny face. It's costing you hours of lost brain power every single day. And it's not because you're lazy, but because your brain literally cannot pivot that fast. Section 2. Elon Musk versus you. A deep dive into the contrast in focus. Let's look at the ultimate contrast to our heavily distracted brains. Think about Elon Musk. He runs Tesla, SpaceX, X, and multiple other companies. You would naturally assume the guy is the undisputed world champion of multitasking, but he isn't. He uses time blocking. He works on one company at a time, one deep focus block at a time. When he is sending rockets to space, he focuses on one rocket. He doesn't think about the rocket while simultaneously checking Twitter and trying to order lunch. Now, compare that to the highly relatable, completely unproductive chaos of the average workday. You sit down to write one simple email, but somehow, someway, you have 7 browser tabs open, you're texting 2 different people, you've got a YouTube video playing in the background, and you're subconsciously scrolling TikTok. The fundamental difference between these two scenarios isn't necessarily just raw intelligence, it is focus. Section 3. The art of single tasking. Focusing on just one thing. Which brings us to the surprisingly simple skill that separates the really successful empire builders from everyone else walking around with unfinished to-do lists. Single tasking. This is the strict discipline of giving your complete, undivided attention to one thing until it is done, and only then moving to the next. Nothing else. No switching, no dividing your attention, just one thing, getting everything you have until it's finished. And what's absolutely brilliant about this is that it is a completely free, immediate, and incredibly powerful tool. You don't need a 17-step system, you don't need to download some special premium app, and you definitely don't need to buy a course. You are already fully qualified to use it right this second. I absolutely love this quote from Jack Ma. Back when he was building Alibaba, he faced days where 50 massive problems would hit him all at once. We're talking investors backing out, engineers quitting, government issues, competitors attacking, the whole shebang. People would ask him how on earth he handled everything at once, and his answer was simple. I don't. I take the most important problem, I give it everything I have, I solve it or I make progress on it, then I take the next one. As he puts it, I never handled 50 problems. I handled one problem 50 times. That right there is single tasking in its purest, most potent form.
Section 4, your 3-step action plan. How to start changing today.
Okay, so how do we actually pull this off in real life? Because look, consuming knowledge without taking action is really nothing more than entertainment. So here is a dead simple 3-step plan to implement this discipline. Step 1, before you go to sleep tonight, take a physical piece of paper and write down just one sentence. Fill in this blank. Tomorrow, the most important thing I need to finish is just one thing. Not 5, not 10. One thing. That piece of paper becomes your boss for tomorrow. It dictates your priority before the rest of the world, your emails, or your group chats get to decide what's important for you. Now, let's talk about step 2, which is backed by a seriously terrifying piece of research. Simply having your phone in the room with you, even if it's turned off, even if it's face down and completely silent, reduces your thinking ability by 10%. Your phone doesn't even have to do anything. Just by existing near you, it's making you 10% less intelligent. It is arguably the most passive-aggressive object ever created. It does absolutely nothing, yet it costs you everything. So step 2, the price of getting that 10% of your brain power back is simply walking 20 steps and putting your phone completely across the room. And that brings us to the final step of the plan. Give yourself 1 protected hour every single day. 1 hour where you do only that one single task you wrote down the night before. No checking, no switching, absolutely no exceptions. The reality is that 60 minutes of truly focused, protected attention will yield vastly superior results to an entire day of fractured fake work. 1 real hour beats a whole fake day every single time. Once that hour is done, you can check Instagram, eat snacks, do whatever you want, because you've actually properly earned it. I want to take a quick second here to speak directly to your ambitions. Whatever it is you want to build, whether it's a business, a brand new skill, or just a better version of yourself, it isn't a fantasy and it isn't too big for you. It's just patiently waiting for your full attention. Look at Jack Ma. He failed university twice. He was rejected 30 times. He definitely wasn't the smartest guy in the room. But when he decided something mattered, he gave it everything. Not just the leftover parts of his brain after scrolling social media, but everything. And that undivided effort was enough to change millions of lives. Remember, your everything is enough. You just have to stop dividing it into tiny, ineffective pieces. So I'm going to leave you with this lingering challenge. What is your one thing tomorrow? Commit to it tonight. Put that phone across the room tomorrow morning and give that one thing your completely undivided attention for just 1 hour. Try this for 7 days, and I promise you, you are going to be stunned by the progress you make. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go write down your one thing and start there.